we made our last run into the beach to pick up officers, and it was about midnight. And when we got in there was no officers there to pick up. And I was ready to go back to the ship, and Charles DeVoe, my little bow, he said, little Italian boy, he says, the galley's going to be closed, Jack. Can we go get some sandwiches? Yeah, there's no officers here. Go ahead. But they just got around the corner, and here come the commander. He says, oh, he said, you haven't went back to the ship yet. And he looked at his watch, of course. And I said, no. I said, the boys was hungry, so they went up to get sandwiches. I said, they'll be back pretty soon. And so he said, well, can I go back out to the ship then with you when you go? And I said, sir, this is yours. I just run it. When I leave, you get on board and slip on your life jacket, and we're gone. And so when they come back, well, we started back out to the ship, and Charles DeVoe, and he had another little entry he wanted to do. He said, can I steer the boat? And I said, sure, why not? You could see the Missouri because it had lights strung from the bow clear to the stern. And just inside buoy 9, where he knocked a little hole in this 34-foot Chris Craft boat, and here come the commander up. I told him he'd have to sit back down, that I had everything under control. And we was going back to the ship anyway, because we stuffed the life jacket up in that hole. So we could go back to the ship and let him off. And I no more tied up to the aft boom when they called me up to the office of the deck. And he told me that I'd be on report. Wanted to know what we needed to do, if we needed to hoist the boat on board, or if he had to call a crew to do that or something. I said, oh no. I said, the sub pump is working good. We'll just stay on board and keep it dry, and when morning comes, we can take it back to the beach when they open up. That was an experience too. When I got back to the beach the next morning with that boat, I had to turn the paperwork into this lieutenant, and he was a little short guy too, but he sure was mad when I told him what happened. He took off his white hat, threw it on the floor. He picked up the phone and he said, I want to talk to the captain of the USS Missouri. So when I got back to the ship, I was on restriction, and when I went to the exec for that being on report, he said, no. He says, you get Captain Mast. I don't even want to talk to you. So the next day was Captain's Mast, and when I went to the Captain's Mast, I walked up there and he said, do you have any explanation of this? And I said, I have a chart from the USS Missouri, and I can show you where we were on the ground, showing where we could go. And he said, oh. Well, he said, was you coxswain of that boat? Oh, yes, sir. He said, 30 days restriction, 60 hours extra duty. And I saluted him and said, thank you, sir. And as I done a turn around and started to walk away, he said, by the way, he said, don't sew those chevrons on. So I wasn't a coxswain anymore. Until we got to Bar Harbor up into Newfoundland Bay, and they had 10-foot ground swells up there. And I couldn't run the boat then, so they sent a second-class boat from the 1st Division down to run the officer's boat. And so I went back and jumped off the aft yard down on the bow of that boat that was running, and I took it around, and we pulled up alongside the Camel behind the 2nd Division boat, and with those ground swells, I could see he was going to tie us off pretty short, so I hollered at the bow hook. I said, let some slack in that line and let us back. And the second-class boats, he spoke up and said, I'll give the orders for out here. Well, I said, belay that order, and about that time here coming those big waves. The stern sheet of the 2nd Division boat went under the bow of our boat and crashed. We had another hole in the front of the boat. But I told the second boatswain mate 2nd class, he better go up and tell Officer Deck I ain't going to tell him I done it. But he didn't get nothing out of that because it was more or less, they blamed it on the waves or the surf there. So then after the war, when everybody was counting up their points, I run back to the yeoman and how many points I got, you know. And he says, well, he says, yeah, you got quite a few points, not enough, he said. I said, how many more do I need? Well, he said, about 2.5 years. 2.5 years? How come? He said, you're regular Navy. You don't get out until you're 21 years old. It's what they call a minority cruise. You join when you're 7, anytime during your 17th year, and then you go to 21. So mine was really only a little over 3 years that I was in. They did give us credit for 4 years if I'd wanted to ship over and go on, but like I say, I got kind of perturbed at them. I figured they gave me a raw deal when I run the boat aground up in Bar Harbor, Maine. Anyway, that's a long story.